works for your bottom line. Visit your local Landmark Implement for more details or check us out at landmarkimp.com and experience the Landmark difference.
Schaefer's is celebrating its 79th anniversary with special rebates, financing, savings, and free delivery store-wide.
Update your home with innovative Samsung appliances and save up to an additional $900 with rebates. Samsung Innovation saves you energy and time with easy-to-connect appliance technology. Plus, during Schaefer's anniversary, get free delivery on your appliance purchase.
So hurry in during Schaefer's 79th anniversary event, going on now.
This is your year, where your team takes it all the way. Win way more than bragging rights at Warhorse Casino, where your love of the game could put $1 million in your pocket. The Pro Football Frenzy is free to play with prizes all season long. Weekly cash prizes up to $1,000 cash, season-long leaderboards, and a chance to win $1 million. Only at Warhorse Casino. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Fall is here, and so are cooler temps, darker evenings, and slick roads. Is your vehicle ready for the change in season? At A1 Automotive, we've got you covered. From tire checks, brake inspections, batteries, and heater systems, we make sure your car is road ready for the Nebraska winters ahead. Don't wait until the first frost. Schedule your fall car care checkup today and drive with confidence all season long. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers as we deliver a free estimate, exact measurements, and rapid installation with a 3 to 5 week time frame. When you choose Doors Plus for your residential garage door needs, you'll work with our experienced technicians and be ensured that your new door seamlessly complements your home. Give us a call at 402-590-5800 or visit us online at DoorsPlusLLC.com. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Nebraska farmers, harvest is here and every gallon counts. That's why Sapp Brothers Petroleum launched the Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway. When you contract your fuel with Sapp Brothers, enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. As Husker Country knows, the only thing stronger than the roar at Memorial Stadium is the drive of a farmer putting food on the table. Fuel your farm with Sapp Brothers Petroleum and enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. Visit sapbros.net today. Sapp Brothers Petroleum, fueling the heartland. Go Big Red.
If the power is out, traffic lights might be too. If you come across a dark intersection, treat it like a four-way stop. See more tips at les.com/safety.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks? Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
You've got used to one segment of Good Takes in the morning, but now there's a full show of Good Takes at night. Welcome into Raff's Good Take on Sports on 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome in, Raff's Good Take on Sports right here, 93.7 The Ticket. We do have NFL on the brick and mortar. We'll see what that one's at. Third quarter, 10 minutes to go, 3-21. The Los Angeles Chargers lead it. Justin Herbert's got 2 touchdowns, 212 yards. Carson Wentz, not a lot going on. No interceptions, though, so a little bit better than last week. Not looking good for the Vikings, though. As always, though, we got Chris Raff in here. We got plenty of things to talk about on a cool fall day here in the capital city of Lincoln, Nebraska. Well, Raff's down there in Alabama territory, as always. Raff, how's it going?
They're going pretty good, not too bad. I was just thinking to myself, though, are the Vikings, are they disappointed that they let Sam Darnold go?
Yes.
Yes. What about Kirk Cousins?
No, because you had Sam Darnold.
Yeah, but you didn't really know what you were going to get with Sam Darnold, though, because remember he'd had some struggling years, but
yeah, but Kirk Cousins was hurt and Sam Darnold stepped in and balled out. So boom,
he did.
You have him.
It just kind of surprises me that they were that quick, I guess, to let Sam Darnold go. But I know that Sam Darnold was on a 1-year contract also, so he was going to get paid. So that was the thing I think where they were stuck at. I think what they were thinking was they could get maybe the system, they could get him in there, and then his rookie contract would go. I mean, he's still on his rookie contract, so I guess JJ's. I'm guessing that's what they were thinking with that. But man, now I don't know. And then Carson Wentz. It's just sad, just the way his career went.
The full Super Bowl run ruined him.
Yeah, it did, and I think he just never really bounced back from that season, then being injured, and I think it just took its toll on him. But then I thought, when he was with the Chiefs, I thought, okay, they'll get him set, back straight again, kind of with the quarterback whisperer, I guess. But I don't know. It's weird. It's just got to be frustrating also for Jefferson also. It's almost burning a year of eligibility, I guess you'd say, for himself. But yeah, the Vikings, it's rough. I mean, they were getting to that point where they were, that constant contender in the NFC to possibly make a Super Bowl run. And then this year happens, and now they're probably going to play themselves out of it. And then I don't even know, is JJ the guy that they're going to go back to, or I don't know. It's because I assume he's their franchise quarterback, but what do you do this year? Do you get him in there as soon as possible, or do you make sure he's, completely healthy, or how that works out?
Yeah, they'll wait for him to get healthy. I mean, I'll say this much just quickly on like the Vikings mistake. I never understand how quickly a team will move on from a quarterback sometimes. Like the easiest way to look at a team and how they draft, like look at how a team on offense lines up on the field. That interior nucleus is the hardest thing to figure out. The further out you go, it gets easier, because it's a lot more one-on-one, and it's when you get into the center where you're talking about the running backs and you're talking about the quarterback, it gets pretty tough to tell. Same thing with the defense. Pretty easy to tell who those guys on the edge, those defensive edges, are always pretty easy to pick. But then you get to linebackers, and all of a sudden the inside of that nucleus, it gets a lot harder. When you have a quarterback, that is the hardest thing to figure out in the NFL. Why would you move on? You got to pay him. Well, hooray, we get to pay somebody that we trust. I don't understand that. So if it would be one thing if, say it's a year where, again, maybe you don't like Williams, maybe you do, but you got a year where you got like guys like Jaden Daniels, Kate Williams, that was Bo Nix as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah, loaded draft. I can maybe understand a little bit more. What were you seeing in JJ McCarthy that made you so certain? Not that you can't not like him, but he wasn't really tested a whole lot in Michigan for what that offense did. So it doesn't mean he can't do it, but it's a lot more uncertainty. And you got an entire year of Sam Darnold balling out and putting up better numbers than even Kirk Cousins did.
Yeah.
And you got a decent amount of uncertainty with McCarthy, and you chose uncertainty for what is the hardest position to figure out in the entire NFL. That will never make sense to me.
Yeah, because they had someone that had shown the numbers, and now you look at it now, like JJ McCarthy. I mean, he's going to be going into, I'm sure he'll get some games in this year still, but going into his third year, and I don't think you're still 100% sure. I mean, yes, I know the general manager and head coach might think he's the franchise quarterback, but what has he shown on the field to prove that, other than, was it the
Bears in the fourth quarter was his only moment, I think.
And that's been it so far. So yeah, if I'm a Vikings fan, I think I'm probably a little bit worried, but
I'll take my cap. We need someone to stink it up a little bit in the NFC North. It's getting ridiculous in here.
Yeah, but like you said, it's to find the quarterback. That's That can be a challenge, even if it is a high draft pick. You never really know until they get into the games. Is he injury prone? Will he adjust to the NFL game? Like you said, at Michigan, they didn't really run, too crazy of a passing offense. So yeah, I think there's a lot to look at there with the Vikings. And then you got the Chargers right now, man. They're clicking on all cylinders. Herbert is, back to, I think Jim Harbaugh's kind of went to that. Yeah, we're going to throw the ball. We have this talent, because remember last year when he came in, they kind of went away a little bit from the passing game, and they were trying, went heavy on the running game. But this year it seems like Jim Harbaugh's, realized that, Herbert's, he's got an arm, he can throw, and he's accurate. And they've been, throwing the ball over the field tonight on the Vikings.
Yeah, it's funny too, because obviously I'm working, so I can't watch the game like in real time. And early on, I got one of my buddies, shout out Kelby Schomer, if he's listening out there. He's probably not. He's definitely watching this game. Yeah, he should be. He wants to be a Raff roadie, but he's a Chargers fan, and like early on, he got a text, and it was like, "Is Justin Herbert just trash?" And then I go look at the score, and I'm like, "It's 24-3. He's got 2 touchdowns and 16 of 21, and then he's got 5 carries for 51 yards." So, fans are finicky, but I do think this is a good year for Herbert and this Chargers team. I know it's a little bit rocky sitting here at 4-3, but if they can keep getting this version of Justin Herbert, if you're a Chargers fan, you feel a lot more optimistic on the future. And I know it's Wentz out there for the Vikings, but that's still a good defense that you're playing against. And for you guys to have 24 points already, 9 minutes in the third quarter to go, and being led by Justin Herbert, that's a good start for Jim Harbaugh and the boys.
Yeah, definitely. He's been, I don't know, like maybe last year, maybe a little bit of a down year for him, but I think just so much of the play calling. But Herbert's always, been super productive, throwing the ball, and you're seeing more of it this year. And I think him and Jim Harbaugh are more comfortable with each other, and you're seeing that come to fruition. I mean, you've seen Harbaugh, what he's done with quarterbacks through the years. Alex Smith, put him back out on the map. Andrew Luck back when he was at Stanford. Oh. So he definitely has that quarterback. Oh, and JJ McCarthy. So he's definitely has that quarterback pedigree. I think now that you're seeing Herbert and Harbaugh work together, you're definitely seeing those two, you're seeing that offense really start to take off.
Did Jim Harbaugh know you more in the NFL or in college?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Did Jim Harbaugh know you more in the NFL or in college? Or get under your skin?
Man. I don't know.
Maybe you're a big Harbaugh fan. Could be you're just a fan of him.
I mean, I've always appreciated, just the way he puts teams on the map. I mean, the 49ers, they were a fledgling, and he got them back, in the NFC Championship game, got them back to the Super Bowl against the Ravens. I mean, I've always appreciated, even Stanford. I mean, Stanford really wasn't that big of a powerhouse football team. Goes to Stanford, puts them back on the map. I think before that, he was at San Diego State. Or was it? No, he was at was it San Diego State? No, he was.
I don't think it was San Diego State. I'll look
it up. Oh gosh, where was he? It was. Was it? No, it wasn't San Diego State. It's somewhere in California. Help me! But he made that team successful too, and that's what got him the job at Stanford.
San Diego, yeah.
Okay. So he just has had that success, and it's just something about. I think some people just have it. I mean, look. I mean, this is before your time, big time, but the year he went and played for the Colts, his last year, they went like 14-2 with Ted Marchibroda. It's like, and he wasn't, he was a shell of his old self. I'd heard rumors he could only throw the ball maybe 35 yards his last year he played. I mean, just crazy like that. But, yeah, he's just a winner. And I mean, I'm sure the khaki pants and all this stuff and all his little mannerisms and his stuff, but you can't
like him in the NFL. I'll be honest.
You can't hate him though. I mean, he knows how to coach. I mean, he might cheat a little bit, but hey, if they don't catch you, might as well.
I guess he didn't cheat.
Yeah,
he didn't cheat if you didn't get caught. So yeah, I think that's the whole.
Might not be coming back to the college game for a while, but as long as you can keep the national championship trophy in the ring, I mean, was it worth it?
It's when the stupidest thing about that. I think we talked about it before, but Jim Harbaugh can't come back. 2028, he can't.
Yeah,
is when it starts, but he can come back for a few years just because, and Sharon Moore gets fired, he comes back in there. It'd be the funniest thing ever. It won't happen, but it'd be the funniest thing ever for him to just come back to college for 2 years and then be suspended in 2028 just to prove how ridiculous the NCAA can be sometimes. And for him to cheat his way to another championship with sign stealing and be like, okay, now you can ban me again. Like, he's banned. Yeah. He's not banned until 2028. I can't remember the rhyme or reason why it landed that way, but yeah, it's super weird. It's just nonsense. And then it's like a 10-year ban, but yeah.
They probably knew he wasn't going to come back until probably that time. They figured he'd spend some time in Los Angeles, and then if he decided ever to, then they'd be like, oh, sorry. So maybe, I don't know. NCAA, they're a different bunch. That's one thing for sure. It's always interesting to see how they can make themselves credible.
Yeah, it just feels like they're kicking rocks half the time. Like, well, boys, what are we mad about today? What are we doing? Nothing. Just kicking rocks until someone sues us. Then we got a problem. Then we got to actually do our job. I don't know what their role is anymore. I'll be honest. Like, I just really don't. With how powerful the Big Ten and SEC has gotten, with the amount of money as the sport has grown, and that's basketball. That's all the sports involved, the money-making sports. Like, these powerhouse conferences got a lot of weight and a lot of lawyers that are, probably better than the NCAA's lawyers in some of these cases. So, like, the NCAA is kind of simmered down, and it looks like they're kind of just a lapdog. They're like, okay, well, boy, we really don't want to upset Michigan or Ohio State or these big money makers for this sport. So we'll just kind of kowtow and we'll let you get away with it, or we'll have a light slap on the wrist, or, we just won't really push on changes that you guys want to make. And that's kind of where I'm at. I have no idea what their role is. But then here comes madness, and they're like 72 teams. Let's do it. So I'm not
even like that 5 for 5 thing. It's like they know it's eventually going to pass. It's like, why not do it? And then you're like, well, we're not going to do it this year, but everybody's still like, oh well, we know it's going to happen eventually. So it's like it's just typical NCAA, a day late and dollar short.
Yeah, that's the best way to put them. Hopefully they have resurgence and look in the mirror and figure out who they are and what they're supposed to be. Because, maybe I'm a young blood, right? Well, I'm not that young. I'm 26. Raff, is there ever a time where the NCAA's looked as weak as it does right now?
No, probably not. For a while there, they always wielded so much. They always, acted like they wielded so much power. They'd, a guy would eat a sandwich and they'd be, suspended, and just crazy stuff like that. They just were kind of power hungry, and they just, they wielded all the power, or they thought they wielded all the power. And I think now they've got to the point where people kind of look at them. It's like, yeah, you guys aren't as, all powerful as what you think. At the end of the day, it's those conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC are the ones, that are basically calling the shots, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. The best analogy I could give it, they're like a bad parent, the bad parent that yelled at their kid for every tiny little thing. And then as the kid got older, it's like, shut up, stop. I'm not even going to listen to you anymore, because you just yell about everything that's not important and some things that are important. And then the kid's growing up, and it's like, I'm just not going to listen to you anymore. And that's kind of what happened to the conferences. They didn't have as much money. They were kind of listening to the NCAA, and the NCAA was cracking heads on the smallest of infringements. And then these conferences got bigger and stronger, and then they started looking at the NCAA and just kind of said, all right, we'll meet you in court. We don't really care. You guys aren't scaring us anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. So great transition time. Is Nebraska winning this weekend?
Yes, but not by a lot, in my opinion, in my humblest of opinion. I gave a 28-24 prediction. Huskers.
Okay, I'm going out on a limb. I'm saying that they'll win by more than that. I think this is a game they win by 14 to 17 points.
Okay. Are you surprised to see Vegas still giving Nebraska the big spread? It's 7.5.
I really think, but this is the bounce back week. Like, Nebraska usually responds the week after an embarrassment by bouncing back and playing really good. But like I talked about earlier in the week, I think this game's a given. I think Nebraska will show up and play really good. It's what do they do the second and third week after? Like, if they win this game convincingly, say they win by 14 or they win by 17, are they entitled again the next week? or do they remember what they went through this past week and, and realize like, hey, yes, we might have won by 14 or we might have won by 17, but we're still not the proverbial, what do you say, the cat's meow or whatever.
Mhm.
And so I think this week they show up. I think they win convincingly. It's a home game. Mind you, it is 11 a.m., but home game, 11 o'clock. I think Nebraska gets this done. And I think, and Matt Rule said, I'll see you guys on Monday, and, he'll, be happy and jolly, but the question will be is, how do you respond the week after? Because Nebraska always has, if you look back, they've always responded well after the embarrassments, but it's what they do that the second and third week after. That's what I'm curious to see, is if they regain that sense of entitlement, or if they realize like, hey, we got to be junkyard dogs every single week. So I'm curious about the week after. That is my thing right now. It's like they always play well after an embarrassment.
Yeah, and after that, I mean, if they beat Northwestern, they better not be entitled, because you got a night game versus USC, and that's one you definitely don't want to drop. And for the sake of it, I'm gonna act like the Northwestern homer, and I'm gonna tell you all the reasons you're wrong, Chris Raff, as the Husker fan here.
Preston Stone.
Yeah, he's a Barry Thompson guy, so I actually like Preston. It's gonna be a weird one. I haven't really watched a quarterback where I have I don't know. I'm not gonna say I have a connection with Barry Thompson, but I have he's an acquaintance, so I work with him, and I do think he's a pretty wise guy. So it'll be interesting to see watching Preston Stone, because I like Barry Thompson, so I don't want to be rooting for Preston Stone to have a horrible game, because that's Barry Thompson's guy. So
you're a Nebraska fan through and through.
I am. Don't get me wrong.
We need Preston Stone to have at least 5 interceptions.
I know. I'm gonna be like celebrating, and then I'm gonna be like, all right, Preston, lock you in here. It's gonna be a weird one. But nonetheless, being the fake Northwestern fan that I'm gonna be for maybe a couple segments here. The first game of the year is just not a good representative of what this team is. They lost to Tulane 23-3. And I think everyone is like, okay, this team's just gonna stink. No one should pay attention. They play Western Illinois, they win 42-7. Versus Oregon, it was actually closer than people remember. It was close after that first quarter, and then even in the second quarter, wasn't until a little bit later before Oregon got rolling, and then the game kind of fell apart. And that one is a tough one. They lose 34-14, but then they play UCLA. And say what you will about UCLA, I think that's a good win, especially looking at what they are now, 17-14. And then they play UL Monroe. Okay, 42-7, they win. But then they go play at Happy Valley. Penn State just got embarrassed. You think they're going to be, pissed off, fired up. We can't let this team beat us. No fear. Not a big deal. They win 22-21. And it was a good game. I mean, they deserved to win that one. Yep. And then they go play Purdue, and they shut out Purdue. That same Purdue team that put 200-plus rushing yards on Minnesota. And they can't do anything against this Northwestern defense. And they get shut out 19-0. And now they're looking at Nebraska on the road at Memorial Stadium. They got to win in Happy Valley. What's Memorial Stadium to them?
True.
I think these guys are not going to be scared. I think their defense is good. And for all the reasons Nebraska's fired up, Northwestern's going to be just as fired up, being 5-2 heading into this thing on the road. And another thing to remember, again, with these road games for Northwestern, they play at Northwestern Medicine Field. It's a treat for these guys right now to come to these bigger stadiums and go play in front of these massive crowds, because they don't have a stadium right now that they can do that in. They get I think 10,000 people maybe is max capacity. So they're not going to be scared to come into this environment. They've been playing good ball. They're the ones on the 4-game win streak. We're the ones that struggle to put 4-game win streaks together. So that's what I said. I think Nebraska wins, but even if we respond well, I don't think this is a bad Northwestern team. Not with that defense. And we can talk about Preston Stone's 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. But he's looked better as the season's gone on, and they'll play a conservative. And you won't see those interceptions. At least I don't think you'll see him force a lot, unless Nebraska really puts it on him early and we actually start running away with it. So, I mean, that defense for Northwestern is legit. And that's what worries me, and that's why I think it might be a close one. And I don't want to just gift our offense a bunch of points when we haven't been able to stop defensive fronts that want to attack us in the backfield.
Man, that was quite the sell job. Now I'm kind of thinking maybe I should pick Northwestern after that.
Okay, man, I did it. I mean, I know there's probably like no Northwestern podcast fans.
Now you're rooting for Northwestern. Oh, I see how it is, Harrison. Man, I'll tell you what. No, Nebraska bounce back game. Always bounce back good. Home game. This is, but that's sort of like the medicine for Nebraska, though. Like you just made that great selling point of Northwestern, and like they got a great defense. They got, they're playing really well. They beat Penn State, and they've done all that. Now, if Nebraska beats them, that's kind of what Nebraska. Now they're gonna. I hope they don't take that and be like, well, they beat Penn State, they beat this, that's like that. I think that's kind of where that entitlement, issue kind of comes a little bit. So if Nebraska beats Northwestern, they've got to take it as, okay, we beat a Big Ten team, we beat Northwestern, but it's on to the next. We can't get a big head about the game. We've just got to win. And I think that's where Nebraska's got lost in the previous years is they get a win over somebody and they're like, well, they beat them, like even Cincinnati, for instance. Like, well, we beat Cincinnati and Cincinnati beat them and beat, and they've been rolling through the schedule. So we must be, so I guess that's kind of that. Hopefully Nebraska can get over that hump to where if you get a win over somebody, you still got to know you got to come out the next week and fight just as hard to get a victory the next week. And you can't let up and think that you're better than what you are.
Absolutely. And that's been the key word of the week, Raff, I think has been entitlement. And I can promise you this as the Northwestern fake homer for the segment. Northwestern's never felt entitled in their entire football history. Never once. Always felt disrespected with a chip on their shoulder. That will never be an issue for that program.
Well, there was one time.
Well, maybe. What year?
Would have been let me go back in my years here and think here. Oh, Frank Solich was the head coach. Would have been 1998.
Okay, so it's -1.
1998 Alamo Bowl, I think it was. Was it 98? I think it was 90. Yeah, it was 98. 98 Alamo Bowl. And they started flapping their lips about how they were going to beat Nebraska down, and they upset Coach Solich. I mean, they upset him, and Coach Solich did not pull the dogs off in that Alamo Bowl, and it was a thumping. But
you remember roughly what the final score is?
Oh, was it like 52-17 or something like that? It was a thump. I was actually there at that game, but yeah, it was a massacre, but it was their players and coaches started talking, and they lit the fuse on Nebraska that game, and Nebraska, they took the entitlement right out of Northwestern that game.
Well, let me make a correction then. Since I've been alive, since I was born in 99, I have not seen Northwestern been entitled. They learned after 98. And when I came into the world, there was no longer the entitled Northwestern. Maybe entitled in the courtrooms, not as much on the football field. But I will say, I think this Northwestern team, do not just look at the purple end and being like, oh, it's Northwestern. They're playing good ball. And yep. I still think Nebraska is going to win, but they're going to come in here willing to fight and scratch and claw to be bowl eligible already. Same thing Nebraska is going for. So there's a lot on the line for Northwestern, and they're going to go out there and really fight for it. But I will say, I'm still going to go with my Skurs. But I do think even if it's a win and it's a close win, that's a great win for Nebraska. So even if we just barely beat Northwestern, that's a great win. Take that win. Yeah. And to your point, don't be satisfied with it. Because no one's going to take you seriously after beating Northwestern, even though I do think it's a really good win for those guys. So that's going to be the key. Raff, anything left you want to throw in there before we throw to our first break?
Nope, I'm all good.
All righty. With that being said, then, don't go anywhere. This is Raff's Good Take on Sports. I'm Harrison Arns, the ones and twos. We got Chris Raff streaming in all the way from Alabama. Don't go anywhere. We will talk to you guys in just a little bit.
Imagine hitting rewind on your life 10, even 20 years. With testosterone therapy from Limitless Male, you can turn back the aging clock and get your edge, energy, and confidence back. If you've lost your drive, sleep deprived, muscle loss, belly fat, irritable, you're not the guy you once were. Get your T levels checked at Limitless Male. More and more men are realizing hormone replacement can turn back the clock. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or A stranger is following them, perhaps on a date, and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People's City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You never think cancer will happen to you. I smoked for over 40 years. My doctor recommended that I get annual lung cancer screening. They were able to catch my cancer at stage 1. It's never too late to quit. Even if you're still smoking, you need to ask your doctor about annual lung cancer screening. Just 30 minutes a year could save your life.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Husker fans know when you work together, great things happen. At Cornhusker Bank, they're more than your financial partner. With 5 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Omaha, they're your neighbors, your teammates, and your biggest fans. Whether you're saving for your first home, planning your future, or growing your business, they're right here in Nebraska to help you move forward together. Visit cornhusker.bank to learn more. Cornhusker Bank, member FDIC. Doing life together.
Deciding on a college with your high school senior can be a little overwhelming for parents. But applying for money to pay for it is simple. FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is now easier than ever with fewer questions and faster fill-out times. If you have a high school senior, now is the time to apply for thousands of dollars for classes, books, and housing. Get started, Nebraska, at dothefafsa.org. Sponsored by Education Quest Foundation. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
After a long, hot summer, are you ready for fall? What about your home? Is your heating system ready for cooler temperatures ahead? Call Bryant for your fall heating check. No matter what brand of equipment you own, Bryant's trained technicians will thoroughly clean and inspect your furnace or heat pump to make sure you stay warm, safe, and comfortable. Call today to schedule your home heating check. 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Tired of asking what's for dinner? Nourished for Life has got you covered. At Nourished, they're a local meal prep company that delivers fresh, chef-crafted, healthy meals straight to your door. Made from wholesome ingredients and ready when you are. No shopping, no chopping. Just heat, eat, and enjoy every night of the week. Fuel your busy days with balanced meals that are designed to keep you satisfied and energized. Visit nourishedforlife.co to purchase meals and taste the convenience of home-cooked comfort without the hassle. It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier power sports dealership. Get geared up for savings like you've never seen before during Elway Days. Their biggest sale of the year runs October 14th through the 18th when every red tagged machine is priced at invoice plus $300. That's it. No freight, no setup, no extra fees. Don't miss out on these epic savings. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered all under one roof with a large selection of side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercraft at the 27th and I-80 location.
Back to Raff's Good Take on Sports on 93.7 The Ticket. With all the good takes you need, here is your host, Chris Raff.
Welcome back in. Segment number 2, Raff's Good Take on Sports. As always, here Monday through Thursday at that 9 to 10 o'clock p.m. slot. You guys are always welcome to join in. We do got NFL still on the brick and mortar. Chargers still leading it 24-10. Vikings did get a touchdown in there. Carson Wentz, 13 for 21, 130 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. With that being said, segment number 2, as always, Chris Raff, I will let you kick things off for us.
All right, everyone. It's that time of the year again. Do you know what time of the year it is? Yes, it is that time of the year. It is NFL Hall of Fame voting time. And for me, it is the Roger Craig and Chuck Foreman. Please get them to the Hall of Fame experience. The senior committee came out today. They unleashed, I guess it would probably be this. They're the semifinals, I would assume, right now, of the candidates for the 2026 Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And on that list is, of course, Roger Craig and Chuck Foreman again.
Mm-hmm.
They are past due, both of them. Chuck Foreman changed the position, made it rushing and receiving. Roger Craig took it to a whole nother level with rushing and receiving. First player to have 1,000, not only just a running back, but a fullback that year. I stress that he blocked for Wendell Tyler in that season, who had 700 plus yards rushing that year. So not only did he go 1,000, he was also his lead blocker. So, and he made it to the playoffs every single season of his career, even when he played with the Raiders, even when he played with the Vikings.
Yeah, I know Jay's been talking about it forever. Obviously I didn't grow up in the Chuck Foreman era watching him, but you know Jay, and then you go and watch some of his stuff. You just go look at his stats and then the longevity of it. I couldn't tell you why he's not in there already.
Well, here's the deal with Chuck Foreman. Like, Chuck Foreman was even, kind of before our time too. I think his final year might have been 81, 82. So it was a little bit, I had a grip on, NFL football, but Chuck Foreman's one of those names throughout the years you just automatically thought was in the Hall of Fame just because you'd heard so much talk about him growing up. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, he's not in the Hall of Fame. And you're like, what? And then Roger Craig, the same way. It's like, he should have been in the Hall of Fame in the his first year of eligibility, if not the first one or two, just for the fact that, he won 3 Super Bowls. He was, offensive MVP, the first 1,000 guy. And it's just crazy. And then there's also another guy on that list, of DP, he's going to agree with me on this one. I know 100% is Joe Jacoby, the big offensive tackle for the Redskins back in the day. He's got 3 Super Bowl championships in the mid 80s, 80, probably 82 through 85, 86. He was the best left tackle in the game, blocked for John Riggins. They were the Hogs. And that's another guy that I just thought was in the Hall of Fame. And then they go back and look, and it's like, he's not in the Hall of Fame. And that's just another guy that should have been a given. And, his first year of eligibility. And it's just mesmerizing to me.
Over at the Commanders at that time, you said 3 straight Super Bowls. It wasn't the big strength of they, call it a pipeline, but that was one of the best offensive lines in the entire NFL at that point in time, if I'm not mistaken. And he was the leader of that.
Yeah, they were the Hogs. You had the Hogs. So you had Jacoby, Russ Grimm that's in the Hall of Fame, Jeff Bostic, Mark Schlereth was there towards the end of the Hogs, the main Hogs run. But Jacoby was there, he was there for the Dolphins Super Bowl. And I'm gonna
short circuiting over there, Raff.
Sorry, no, yeah, I was like, no. the Dolphins, the Broncos, and the where they played in Minnesota, the Buffalo Bills. He was in all 3 of those Super Bowls, and that he's just now, being a senior candidate again is crazy. And then I have a couple other guys too that caught my eye. Like Ken Anderson, former quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he had like a 16-year career. Another guy that should be in the Hall of Fame, got the Bengals to their first Super Bowl, had an, offensive player of the year caliber year in 1982. Was basically Joe Montana before Joe Montana, not in the sense of Super Bowl wins, but he was kind of like Bill Walsh's one of his first quarterbacks that he tutored. And so Kenny Anderson. And then this candidate list is crazy to me, being a Bronco fan. I always bring it back to the Broncos somehow, some way.
Yeah, I do the same thing with the Bears. I'm guilty of it too. Don't worry.
But I have validity behind this argument. How in the world can the NFL Hall of Fame come out with a senior list and not have former linebacker Carl Mecklenburg on that list, 6-time Pro Bowler, All Pro, Player of the Year candidate, Player of the Year, one of the greatest, played all 7 positions in the front 7. He should have been a first year in the Hall of Fame. No doubter. He's all decade team. He should be in the Hall of Fame. And then my second guy for the Broncos is Louis Wright. He played cornerback for the Broncos back in the 70s, part of the Orange Crush, one of the very first shutdown cornerbacks that he'd take a receiver and, guard him the entire game. 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. It just mesmerizes me that they're not even on the list to be a candidate to even get in. And it upsets me with the NFL because you have players that are Hall of Fame players and that they've had to wait 30 plus years, 25 years, 40 years to get in the Hall of Fame. It's sickening. And I want the Chuck Foremans of the world. I want them to get their flowers. I don't want it to be one of those things where, I don't want to have Jay go up there and speak for his dad.
Yeah.
I want Chuck to speak. I love Jay to death, and Jay would say the same thing.
Jay wants to be there and watch his dad receive the award.
Exactly. So I implore to the Hall of Fame. And another thing too is last year you had such a small Hall of Fame class. Well, if you're that low on current players, add those legendary all-time players that I don't think they take enough of the senior players. They had 1 year, what was it, the 125-year anniversary? They took like 10 players from the senior class. I think I'm good. If you want to take 5 of them, I'm great with that because I look at this list, like there's a couple guys on the list I've never even heard of. Lavi Dilweg and Paul Younger. I guess I've heard of Paul Younger, but Chuck Isbell. I mean, these are guys I've never even heard of. And it's like they're making a list, and it's like, how are you leaving off the Carl Mecklenburgs and the Louis Wrights of the world? It's just, and there's other players, that Jim Marshall, he passed away, he's on the list. It's like you could have put him in, 15, 20 years ago, no problem. He was a Hall of Fame caliber player, had the career to back it up. But it's just so, I don't know. It's upsetting to me that all these great players that should be Hall of Famers are not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and it kind of goes all back to, well, who's voting? And I hate doing this point because it makes me sound like I'm anti-media, which is bizarre because that's the job I get paid for. But, who votes on it? It is, what is it? Yeah, 50 media representatives and representatives from the Pro Football Writers of America. So you once again, you're getting the media kind of deciding who's in, as opposed to, I mean, who are the right people to vote for that? Is it the media, or is it players? Is it a committee of trusted players and coaches that are active ball watchers and know the history of it? Because that's where you kind of lose some of these seniors as well, right? It's like, how many of these media members are really doing their diligence going back in the past? Or is that the spot where they spend the least amount of time of, and they just look at the numbers purely, and they pick a few names and they're like, okay, now let's go look at the modern selections. And that's why it happens so much.
Well, too, and also too, it's like I'm not hating, how they do it, but for instance, Steve McMichael, Hall of Fame player, he is in the Hall of Fame, but a lot of it, the push was, he was battling ALS,
right?
And they wanted to get him in, before he passed away. And it was like that push. It's like, are we going with them pulling the emotional heartstrings, or should we have those players? Because I would say if you went up to a NFL person and you said, tell me about Roger Craig, tell me about Steve McMichael, and I'm guessing Roger Craig, they're going to be like, oh, I played for the 49ers, 3 Super Bowls, 1000, and so forth. Okay, tell me about Steve McMichael. Played for the 85 Bears.
That's it.
And
for the average fan.
Yeah, and that to me, that's the telltale thing. Like Chuck Foreman, like, can you tell the story of the NFL without Chuck Foreman? And it's like, I don't think you can. In the 70s, you cannot tell the NFL story without Chuck Foreman. So
That's the best way, I think, to look at the guys that are kind of been on the outside looking in for a while, and I think that's the question you need to ask yourself. And if like when you look at a guy like Chuck Foreman, like can we tell the history of NFL without mentioning Chuck Foreman? I think that's a great way to phrase it, Raph. Like honestly, I think that's especially those older guys. I think that's how you have to ask it.
Well, it's like I love, much respect to the Dilweg family, but can you tell the history, the story of the NFL without Levy Dilweg?
You can't.
It's like, I'm sorry, Levy. I mean, I'm glad you're on the list, but I don't know if the NFL goes and like Joe Jacoby. It's like, how can you tell the story of the Hogs and the 83 Redskins and that without talking about Joe Jacoby? Ken Anderson the same way. How can you? I don't know. It frustrates me. And Roger Craig, that one's that's perturbed me for many years, just for the fact that the player that he was in the NFL, what he did when he came in the NFL, playing fullback, switching to I back, and Bill Walsh would say it all the time. Without Roger Craig, the West Coast offense doesn't work the way it does because you need a guy who can catch the ball in the backfield, run the ball, and pick up pass protections. And Roger Craig was that every down back that did everything. And you've left him out of the Hall of Fame for a lot of years. The excuse is, well, it was Bill Walsh's offense, but it was him that made Bill Walsh's offense run. So NFL Hall of Fame, get Roger Craig in the Hall of Fame.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, you can make an argument. He was the first prototype of Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
A guy that you can keep out there for every single down. And, go ask Shanahan how many wins you guys would have without McCaffrey right now. I mean, he's doing everything for those guys. And that's the same story with Craig. Like he could do everything. And if he was in the backfield, you didn't know if they're going to run, if they're going to pass, or if he was going to be in pass pro, because he could do everything. And then, again, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but at that point in time, it wasn't really like that for running backs back in the day.
Well, and the one we talked about earlier, Chuck Foreman, he was the first guy that brought, catching the ball out of the backfield from Fran Tarkington, nicknamed the spin doctor. He has that aura about him. And I know people are going to be like, well, his statistics, he didn't rush for as many yards but it was such a different game back in the 70s and the 80s than what it is today. It's so much wide open, so much more. And go back, and I implore people with Chuck Foreman is don't look at the stats, go back and watch the games.
Mm-hmm.
He's got so many games where he had big plays, big touchdowns. If you go back and look at the games, Chuck Foreman's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he was what you call a gamer, or whatever the coin term is. Like when it mattered most, he'd show up. Yep. And that's usually a pretty good sign of like your best players. Like even, you cut out Tom Brady's longevity. You say if you were to cut up his career a little bit shorter, if you look at his stats, you'd be like, okay, well, maybe he's not, the best quarterback that ever was, especially playing in that era where it wasn't as easy to get those yards through the air. But if anybody who watched those games, they'd be like, no, you don't understand. Tom Brady was that guy when it mattered most that always came through. Yep. Well, some people might say it was the defense. And if
you have a good, 5-year stretch where you're one of the best in the league, that's a Hall of Famer to me. I mean, like Sterling Sharp, I've always wanted him in the Hall of Fame because what he did over a 6-year period was, unmatched. It was him and Jerry Rice. I mean, they were the two best in the game. Was his career cut short? Yes, it was. But what do I always say about the NFL? You're not there for long. It's only like average 3-year career. Yeah. So if you make it 5 or 6, you went double what your normal career should have been. And those players, it's so weird to me. Like Joe Jacoby, for instance, he had 4 years where he was the best offensive tackle in the game. He's all decade for the 80s. I mean, that's Hall of Fame. And that he didn't even make it during his full, I think they do 20 or 25 years of eligibility. Then they go to the senior. Mm-hmm. I think it's 20, but did he win all those years and wasn't able? And then you see the NFL Hall of Fame class last year, so tiny. I think they only took like 4, maybe. I think there was only like 4 guys in the class, and they could take upwards of, I believe, 7 or 8. And it's like, it's weird to me. And Mike Shanahan should be the coach in the Hall of Fame this year too. If he doesn't get in this year, that's another thing giving them their roses. Like, I love Bill Cowher. Nothing against Bill Cowher, but Mike Shanahan, you look at his coaching tree, you look at his coaching record, you look at all that. Mike Shanahan has more wins, more Super Bowls, and a much bigger coaching tree than Bill Cowher. However, Bill Cowher, is on CBS, and they were able to make a big thing of it with Bill Cowher and Jimmy Johnson. So that's my 2 cents. But Mike Shanahan definitely needs to be in the Hall of Fame ASAP.
Yeah, I agree. It's just one of those things too, where I don't want to, bag on them too hard, because I think for the most part they do a pretty good job. But when you're talking about the Hall of Fame, it's really brutal when you do miss someone, because, once you miss them, you missed them, and you kind of, a few mistakes will make that Hall of Fame look silly, even if they get most of it right.
I just don't get how they get lost for 20 some years.
That's what I'm saying. It's the history guys, the senior guys, that are the ones where they normally do pretty well, but that's the area where they got to figure out a little bit more, I think, because to your point, the era is going to make the stats a little squirrely, and you almost need people willing. Okay, here are the candidates. We're going to sit down and we're going to watch all these games. Well, not the entire game, but we're going to watch all of his snaps and see what he was in this era, and then you can understand the era. And then what he was in that era compared to everybody else. And I think that's, maybe it's a lot more work, but I think if you're going to look back in time, it's probably the best way to go about it, because it's really hard if you're just looking at numbers. And I know some of them will watch tape, but I mean, I think you got to watch a lot of tape. It's a really good idea if this guy belongs or not. And I think that's how those guys get lost.
Yep, I agree. Because if you just look at the stats, it just won't match up. But if you look at the games and the big games, that's when you see their greatness.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And with that being said, you probably guessed it already. We skipped the break. No need for it.
We did?
Yeah.
No, we skipped it.
We get extra time for Raff's Roadies because the NFL's still going on, 31-10. Chargers leading the Minnesota Vikings. Having a day, Justin Herbert, 3 touchdowns. He just got a pick, though. And Carson Wentz, he did throw a pick eventually. Just had to give it a little bit of time. I don't know what Carson Wentz's career is going to look like going forward here. Like we mentioned it full circle at the beginning. Ever since the full Super Bowl, he just kind of, in the injury, fell off a map. But we'll leave Wentz alone. It is the third segment, so that means let's bring some positivity to it. And what is Raff's good take here on a Thursday, October 23rd?
Okay, I have it. I just want to make sure I say it right, so I got to pull it up here. Okay. All right, everybody. Today's Raff's good take goes out to Centerpoint. They're hosting its annual Winter Essentials donation drive, and they are doing that until November 14th. You can take Winter Essentials to 2202. 1 second, I'm flipping to it. Sorry, I should have been better prepared. I forgot we weren't taking a commercial. So 2202 South 11th Street from 8 o'clock to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and you can take essentials in there, clothes, blankets, stuff like that. Just such a cool thing that they're doing for the community. So Centerpoint, you guys are Raff's good take.
I like it, Raff, especially this time of year. You see people that are struggling, and when it starts getting cold and stuff like this, it's not fun to see because it's miserable. I mean, everybody kind of knows what it's like there when you're unprepared and you're out there in miserable elements. It's not fun. So I love that one, and I'll just throw it out. Anyone who's helping serve the homeless when it starts to become winter, it's easy to be nice and kind when it's beautiful and sunny out, and you can go walk around and, oh, hey, how you doing? Do you need this? The people that keep doing that when it's like 10 degrees outside and they're going to the soup kitchen and they're cooking for people and they're still doing, blanket drives, whatever. I mean, that's some real dedication, because that's not fun to do. It might be rewarding, but it's not fun. It's you do it because you care. And like I said, it's easy to do that stuff in the summer, and you definitely should. If you're one of those people, that's still great. Don't get me wrong. Even if you don't do it year round. But the people that do it especially here in the Midwest, when you get to those cold winters and the wind chill starts really hitting you, and you're still out there making time and effort to help those people that, at this point in time, it happens every year. Unfortunately, there's like 1 or 2 people that succumb to death, just due to the freezing elements and not having somewhere to go or not being in the right state of mind, whatever it may be. Having people out there looking out for those people is always fantastic. So if you're one of those people that's out there, whatever it may be, helping those people that are homeless in the bitter cold when it hits the Midwest. You are a really nice human being, and you probably don't get enough applause that you deserve.
Got it tonight, though.
Got it tonight. And well done. I like the Raff's good take, Raff, because sometimes we get a little too negative, I think. I don't know whose fault that is. Maybe it's mine. But the Raff's good take always puts a nice smile on everybody's faces. With that being said, Chris, Raff.
Well, see, we're not being negative, though. We're trying to put right that once went wrong. So I think we're more like quantum leap in a way that we're trying to fix things. So we're not negative. We're just trying to fix things to make them better.
That's we talk that way because we care, Raff. That's the twist we'll put on it, because we care so much about the well-being of everyone else that sometimes, you got to get in the face of whatever you're talking about to get that point across. But I'm going to go ahead and hit the out music. Raff, I'm going to give you the final words, as always, here on the Thursday.
All right, everybody. Like I said before, vote Roger Craig and George Foreman. I do it all the time. And Chuck Foreman. Roger the Dodger and the Spin Doctor, NFL Hall of Fame. Make it happen. Everyone else, be nice to each other, and we'll talk to you on Monday.